going to be fighting Conor McGregor, which is not a confirmed news yet, but many of the people are suspicious like that's going to be the news because we have watched Masvidal's new interview and he's hinting at that. And when they asked him like, "Are you going to be fighting Conor McGregor?" he said, "Never say no." And then this is the likely fight that he's actually looking at. And we have also seen that Dana White is also talking about Conor McGregor. Um, sorry, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor not happening because Dana is not interested in that fight. So that also tells us that it's gonna be most probably Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor. So I'm gonna be looking more into the fight, by the way, and we're gonna be looking into the deals as well, like what is going on, the Paramount deal, and all of that. So, what is Connor saying about the Paramount deal, by the way? Okay, so Conor McGregor claims that the Paramount deal avoided UFC contract, negotiating new deal for White House card. Um, a couple of weeks ago, McGregor streamed. So I wasn't aware of this actually. So is the Paramount deal actually overriding every single contract in the UFC, or was it just the case of Conor McGregor? He had like a few fights left in the contract, and they were like, "You're gonna have to make a new deal with Paramount." A couple of weeks ago, McGregor streamed the game Roblox with his son. Oh, I do remember that stream. There were like highlights popping on Instagram of that stream. And famous streamer Kayla is chopping it up and having a good time. This week he did a show again. But this time around, Notorious dropped some pretty big news declaring that the UFC new deal with Paramount invalidates his previous contract with the UFC, which was primarily based on pay-per-views, scales, sales. I am warming up now for the White House fight, McGregor said on stream. I'm gonna be at it for sure. I'm gonna be insane. The White House card is gonna be so. Connor is pretty confident about the White House card. I'm sure Dana is gonna put him on the White House card. He's like the biggest, like the sports guy right now, and then he's talking about like I am going into negotiations with the Ultimate Fighting Championship in February. I am very interested to go. They have actually got a new deal with Paramount. It's worth $7.7 billion. Yeah, this is one of the best, and I think it's very good for the UFC fans because fans who've been consistently watching it, for them it's going to be much cheaper than what they were paying before for the pay-per-views. So the company has fixed its profit, and my contract essentially is void right now because there's no more pay-per-view, whereas my contract was based on pay-per-view scales sales, and I am the highest generating pay-per-view fighter of all time. The pay-per-view system is done, so I don't even know if Connor is benefiting from it. I'm due a new contract, so we're going into negotiations in February, and I'm very interested to see how it goes. It's unclear if the changes broadcast rights actually affects McGregor's UFC contract. And then he's like, and what I'm doing for it, McGregor said, I am focusing on what I can control. I am in the gym. I'm living in the gym, focusing on my health, focusing on my rest, listening to my coaches, following the game plan. External noise is non-existence for me. I don't absorb it. You are aware of it, and you don't let it seep in. Keep the internal dialogue strong. I am here showing the kids, showing my team what it takes. You have got to live it. You've got to live and breathe it. McGregor has not fought since July of 2021, where he shattered his leg against Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. He was supposed to return last summer at UFC 303, but withdrew due to injury. So yeah, we're gonna have to have a look at McGregor's leg as well because although it's been a long time, like 5 years, so I'm sure his leg is quite fine right now. Like the broken leg actually comes back after like a year, so it shouldn't take that long. But I don't know where his game is going to be. Is he going to be the same confident Conor McGregor who's just blasting the kicks, or is he going to be a bit more careful? We're going to find out that as well. Okay, what else is going on? And then Masvidal is promising something big right now for the UFC fans. So Jorge Masvidal can't say exactly when his next UFC fight will take place, but Game Brad is at least promising something big for his awaited return to action. He's saying it's been a while since UFC fans saw Game Brad grace the octagon. The last time Masvidal fought for the promotion was at UFC 287. In April 2023, he ended up losing to welterweight veteran Gilbert Burns via decision to extend his current UFC losing streak to four and force a temporary retirement. Last time he actually won the title was the BMF title against Nate Diaz in 2019. Okay, some of it is like level 5 only access, so I can't really say too much, but I am training for something big. Masvidal told him a Junkie Radio. You never know, right? Give them what they want, not what they expect. I can say it's some big news. I have some fight news coming soon. It's very big news. What else could it be? What else could be bigger than Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal? Peyton Talbot's pretty cool, putting down all the other. Um, so Masvidal, who has been making calls into President Donald Trump, is hopeful in his return takes place at UFC White House car in June, actually, until something is officially announced. Though Gamebred will be theft, he will be left to speculate like the rest of us. I can't deny or confirm any of that right now, and maybe hopefully soon I can. Masvidal said, like maybe 10 days, something like that. I should have more confirmation on it. Uh, Banned Conor McGregor issues 13-word statement after Dana White pulls plug on Chandler House White House fight. Conor McGregor has responded to Dana White's apparent axing of his showdown with Michael Chandler. The Notorious was seemingly set to make his cage comeback against the former three-time Bellator lightweight champion of the UFC White House card on June 14. And what he's saying here, but UFC Supremo White seemingly pulled the plug on the bout, which Chandler has waited nearly 3 years for earlier this week. When asked about the prospect of McGregor versus Chandler going down at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he told Complex, no, that was a couple of years ago, no. The veteran promoter then caused further doubt on the prospect of McGregor ever setting foot inside the octagon again. Wow. He said, we'll see if Conor is going to come back or not. We've been talking about it for a while. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, this is Dana White's favorite dialogue, to be honest. Like, we'll see how it plays out. That's his favorite line. A blunt statement he wrote. Pick who you want. The Max sweats nothing and nobody. I am tasty shots. Pick who you want. The Max sweats nothing and nobody. I am tasty shots. McGregor 37 hasn't fought since Ariel breaking his left leg in his trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier nearly 5 years ago. He was set to lock horns with Chandler in June 2024, but withdrew from their Sin City showdown with a broken left pinky toe. I mean, if you look at the record, it's a pretty solid record actually. So he lost to Dustin Poirier in the last two fights. So he's on a two-fight losing streak. Before that, he won the fight against Donald Cerrone in 2020. Before that, he lost to Khabib, and before that, he lost to Floyd. Before that, he was on like a two-fight winning streak. He beat Eddie Alvarez, Nate Diaz. Before that, he lost to Nate Diaz, and then before that, he was undefeated in the UFC. So he beat Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, Dennis Silver, Dustin Poirier, Diego Brandao, Max Holloway, Marco Brimage. If you're actually just looking at the record of Conor McGregor and you're discussing the greatest of all time list, like whether you want to put whether the guy deserves a spot, or which spot would he actually deserve? Like if you're putting him on the list, would he be like top 20, top 30, top 50? We're gonna look at the big wins. Actually, I'm not gonna give him the Dustin Poirier first win because Poirier was very At that time, Poirier was very inexperienced. He wasn't a very good fighter, I would say, at that time. He was all right, but didn't have a lot of experience. It was a decent win, but also Poirier lost to like Michael Johnson uh, early on. So I mean, Chad Mendes was a great win. Jose Aldo was a great win. So these two are good wins. Then Nate Diaz and Eddie Alvarez are good wins. But like that's pretty much it. Like he's got four good wins, and Nate Diaz is more impressive because he went up a weight class, 170. So that's a good one. But that's pretty much it. It doesn't have any other good wins. Like Donald Cowboy Cerrone, that was at the end of Cowboy's career. He wasn't doing very well at that time, and Conor was supposed to beat him. Yeah, Conor just demolished him completely in that fight. But like overall, if you're looking at Conor McGregor's resume, it's actually not that impressive. Like some of the wins that he's actually got, like Diego Brandao, Danny Silver, like decent wins. But if you're talking about like great wins, like if you compare that with, let's say, Islam Makhachev's resume, it will be not even close. Let's say you're saying Islam Makhachev record. So I'm not talking about the record before UFC. We're just gonna pull up his UFC record. So JDM 170. Obviously, it's very impressive. It's better than any of the Conor wins because even when Conor went to 170, he was fighting Nate Diaz, who is not like a championship level fighter. JDM championship level fighter and undefeated in the UFC, so that was bigger than any of Conor's wins. Then you have Renato Moicano. Moicano again a black belt. Conor would have struggled against Moicano. Could have possibly beat him on the feet, but struggled against Moicano. So, and Makachev didn't just beat Moicano, he destroyed Moicano. And one of the impressive things about the fight was like on that same day, Umar actually lost, and Moicano was a late replacement anyway, on like 3 days' notice for Arman Tsarukyan. And the way Islam finished him, that was quite impressive. Before that, finished Dustin Poirier. And that was the Dustin Poirier in his prime. Like when Conor fought that Dustin Poirier, Conor lost to him twice. Then you have Alex Volkanovski knocked out. Second time it was like Volk actually took the fight on short notice. He didn't have much time to train for the fight, so impressive win for Islam Makhachev, especially the way that he actually won it by head kick. But again, Volk was coming off the couch, so I wouldn't put too much value into this. But the first Volk fight, man, it was a good fight. It was a close fight, but I put a lot of stock in that fight. So that was a great win. Then Islam versus Charles Oliveira completely dominated the fight. It was not even close. Charles Oliveira with the most submissions in the UFC history. Islam Makhachev completely dominated and then submitted him. You have King Green. King Green is again better than a lot of Connor's wins, to be honest. Dan Hooker, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober. I mean, these guys are better than what Connor was fighting in the start. So even Islam's rise to the title, he was fighting better guys than what Connor was actually fighting. Armin Saryukin, Davy Ramos, Gleison Tebow, Chris Wade. Okay, I'm gonna tell you which ones are like decent wins. So Armin Saryukin, the first one, I'm not gonna say that was an impressive win because that was Armin's debut fight. So that's a decent win. Drew Dober, Thiago Moses, Dan Hooker, King Green. So these four are like, I wouldn't say King Green was actually a good win at that point because Islam was gonna beat him anyway. But Dan Hooker was a decent win. So four decent wins. Oliveira, especially at that point when he was on a winning streak and he was submitting everybody. Oliveira, Volkanovski, first one, two, Dustin Poirier, three, Jack Della Maddalena. That these four are like impressive wins. So you have four impressive wins, and then Moicano, that was a decent win. So you have five decent wins, and you have four impressive wins. So if you're comparing the accolades of or like record of Islam Makhachev to Conor McGregor, that wouldn't be a question. Like Conor is nowhere near. He has a few decent wins, but he doesn't have an impressive wins. Like Eddie Alvarez win, decent win. Jose Aldo win is the only impressive win. Like during that time, especially when Aldo was kind of undefeated. So that's the only win when you're gonna say, oh, that was an impressive win. Or maybe Chad Mendes, because Chad was like stylistically a bad matchup for Conor. So Conor probably two decent wins, two impressive wins. But Makachev, five decent wins and four impressive wins. Mm. What do you guys think about Jorge Masvidal versus Conor McGregor, by the way? Do you think that's actually going to happen? Because all the news are actually indicating to this fact that it will be Conor versus Masvidal and not Chandler versus Conor in the White House. And what do you think the results would be? Do you think Masvidal actually has enough pop in him to beat Conor McGregor? Do you actually want me to put my shirt on? I mean, I can put my shirt on, dude, if you don't want to see my. To be honest, you know what? It's pretty hot inside, so that's why I'm sitting like this. But yeah, what are your thoughts on like Conor versus Masvidal? And I'm not completely nude, by the way. That's only shirtless. That's I do have my pants on. Okay, so now we're gonna pull up the record of Dana White on. Okay, Dana White also announced Adesanya. He also announced Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer, so that's going to be happening. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know about Joe Pyfer. That guy hits hard. Like it's not a one-sided fight the way people actually think that it is. And Adesanya is not in his prime, so I mean he got to take this fight seriously because Joe Pyfer can touch you and it can put you to sleep. So Wenjen is saying Conor versus Masvidal seems good if both are in good form. I don't think they are though. They haven't fought for so long. Yeah, that's the problem. Like Jorge Masvidal last time fought was like years ago, and he's on like a 4-fight losing streak. Lost to Burns, lost to Colby, lost to Usman twice. After 2019, Masvidal was kind of just on a losing streak. And but Connor lost to Dustin Poirier twice, so they both are on losing streaks. Last time Connor actually fought was 2021, so this guy also has not fought for a long time. So I mean, both of them are on losing streaks. I think it's like a perfect matchup for that. Skill wise, it's not the best fight, so it means they stylistically it's a good matchup, but skill wise, it's not the top level fight. So you might have. You should have like Conor versus Jorge Masvidal. If you want to do it, maybe have like a third or the fourth fight as like a third or fourth fight. Mighty Mouse versus John Bon Jones. That's a good nickname, by the way. You know what, John Jones versus Mighty Mouse. That how do you think that fight would go? By the way, I think that fight would be a. It could be like I'm trying to like actually look at it like I'm trying to take it seriously. I'm like, how would that fight go? So the fight starts. It's like a 5 round fight. Jones, being a bigger guy, he's trying to put the pace on Mighty Mouse, is trying to catch him. Mighty Mouse is just trying to circle around the cage. Remember when we used to play like running when you have to catch the person, you touch them and it's over. It's like that game they're playing. Mighty Mouse is running, 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 and then Jones is trying to catch him, and then he goes between Jones' legs, and then Jones just move around and see well, like where is he, and then he jumps on Jones' head, and he's trying to get like a rear naked choke. And Jones grabs him from here, and then he pushes him down, and then he steps on him. Jones steps on him with all his PED power, all the drugs that he's taken. Jones step on him, and then the fight is over. Yeah, it's not gonna be an interesting fight. I mean, seriously, if that fight actually happens, maybe two Mighty Mouse, maybe like Mighty Mouse and Pintoya versus Jones, that could be interesting. They could grab each leg of John Jones, they can just rip it apart. That would be interesting. Mm-mm. Okay, so I mean, Kayla Harrison is not happening. Yeah, that's what we need. We need 201, two and one in UFC. That's what we need. Like Eddie Hall showed that like this is possible. Like if John Jones against two UFC flyweights, you know what? But like if we're talking seriously, that's it's not gonna be close. Like if you have two UFC flyweights against the heavyweight, the flyweights rip the heavyweight. Easy work. But the guys that Eddie Hall was fighting, they had no MMA. They had like amateur MMA fights. Yeah, she did. She did, man. She needed surgery for that. By the way, I don't even know how that girl was cutting that much weight. Like a lot of respect to Kayla, but she was fighting in 155 when she was fighting in the Olympics. And after that, when she started fighting in PFL, she was fighting in 145. She's only cutting to 135 for UFC because UFC does not have a 145 weight class. Why don't you create a 145 weight class? And you actually do have a 145 weight class. Remember when Amanda actually won the championship, but you don't have any girls. Why can't you sign up girls at 145? And why is every girl cutting to 135? There are girls who can actually not cut to 135 and actually fight at 145. So for Kayla, I think it's terrible, man. Kayla, every single weight cut is going to be difficult for her. Do you see her doing the weigh-ins? Like, this girl is fully dehydrated. She looks like she's about to pass out. She looks like a skeleton. She looks like she doesn't have a piece of meat on her bones. She looks like that. It's hard sometimes. But I think that's what they got to do. They got to do a 145 weight class. I'm sure Amanda would be happy to go to 145. She fought Cyborg at 145, so they should definitely do that. And then if they do 145, there are girls from outside they're gonna come as well. Like you have Chris Cyborg, she's still fighting. She can come. She can make a comeback. Fight Kayla Harrison at 145. Mm. Oh, by the way, what do you think about Usman Nurmagomedov versus Alfie Davis? I don't know if you watch PFL, but what do you think about that fight? They've been doing a bit of trash talk as well. Alfie Davis and Usman Nurmagomedov. They're talking about each other's wrestling. Like Alfie was talking about Usman's wrestling, saying that you're gonna be tired. Shoot on me first round, shoot on me second round. I'll see if you can wrestle in the third round, and I'm gonna be dancing around and see what you do then. So there's a bit of trash talk going over there. And then Usman is like, he's a very average fighter. He's not a great fighter. He's gonna win every single fight till he comes to UFC. I think he's likely to win, to be honest. But Alfie is actually pretty good, to be honest. I was watching his fight. He looks pretty tricky, man. Like he won a fight with like a spinning elbow, and then he does like nice what does he do? Nice knees as well. Like when people are trying to shoot on him. So he's got some nice trick up his back. And by the way, I train in the same academy, so I'm gonna go with Alfie. I go to the same gym that he trains at. But I do acknowledge that Usman is the favorite to win. Obviously, Usman is on like a winning streak. uh Give me a second, actually. There you go. Finally, I'm alive. Yeah, I had to do this, man. I had to do this. I don't want men sitting down on the chairs watching me and doing something. So I was like, I might as well just put the shirt on. All right. Okay, what other fights are we looking at? I'm looking at the fights. By the way, what do you think about Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer? I'm glad UFC actually made that fight. Yo, Tyler, how's it going, bro? Uh, oh, it's back to PG stream. Yeah, we're not doing Attitude Era shit anymore, right? It's not a nighttime video. It's a YouTube fighting stream. Oh, my main card picks. All right, let me put up the card, man. Let me just quickly put up the card so I can actually give you the picks. UFC 324. So the main card pick is going to be okay, we got the fights. Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. I'm going with Justin Gaethje. Very unpopular opinion, but I think Justin Gaethje pisses him up. Paddy keeps the chin very high. He gets hit with the left hook repeatedly. We saw that against Jared Gordon. I think Gaethje gets it. I love Paddy and I like his personality, but I think Gaethje getting it. O'Malley versus Yadong. I think people are sleeping into Yadong. He's actually better than you think. He's been training his judo. It would be a close fight. Maybe O'Malley outpoints him, I think. So, Dustin Gaethje. Did I say Dustin Gaethje? Sorry about that. Justin Gaethje. I'm going with O'Malley. Zhedong is very hard to finish, so I'm going to go with O'Malley by decision. I'm not going with like a finish. Costa versus Derek Lewis. I'm going with Acosta. I know it could be it could go either way because Derek Lewis got one punch knockout power. Costa's got one punch knockout power. I think Costa has just got more momentum behind him. He's been on a winning streak, so I go with him. Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. Natalia Silva, I haven't seen her fight that much, to be honest. Rose Namajunas. Rose, I've seen so many of her fights, so I'm just going to go with Rose. And you're going with O'Malley decision as well. Cool. Uh, Arnold Allen. I would have gone for O'Malley knockout, by the way, but because Yadong is so hard to get finished. Like every fight I've seen him, like this guy getting blooded up, but this guy does not get finished. So I think Yadong is going to be able to take it, and Yadong is better than some of the people actually think. Gene Silva versus Arnold Allen. Like this is a controversial opinion. I think a lot of people are thinking that Gene Silva would be able to go through Arnold Allen. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen. I think Arnold Allen is just, he's more resilient. And I think because we've seen Gene Silva getting exposed by, he ran into, against, who was he fighting? Lopez. He was winning the fight, but he ran into him in the spinning elbow. I think Arnold Allen is just a bit more resilient. He's going to be able to win this fight. Then we have two canceled bouts. Do you want to go through the prelims as well, by the way? Okay, prelims. Omar versus Figueiredo. Omar is going to try to put the show on. He wants to finish Figueiredo because that is the statement that he needs to make. Uh, it's a hard one, bro. It's a hard one. But you know, with the Gene Silva, I was thinking about it as well. I was like, Silva is definitely more tricky. Like with the stuff that he does, like it's, I think it's all the fighters that he's training with, like Gene Silva, Carlos Pradas, and like all of those MMA nerds, right? They're so tricky, so it's hard to predict. But I think Arnold Allen with this one, I think it's going to be a bit more hungry. Omar versus Figueiredo, Omar has to put on a show because he wants to get a title fight. He's on a prelims. O'Malley's on main card. So UFC, I know what direction UFC is going. They want to give O'Malley the title shot. I still don't think he finishes him. I think it's going to be hard. I'll go with Omar by decision because it's a 3 round fight, right? Figueiredo is not an easy guy to get finished. Um, Gauthier versus Polyev Ateba. I'm going with that guy. I just started recently watching like some of his knockouts. Unbelievable power. I'm just going with him. Nikita Krylov versus Bukauskas. I've not seen Bukauskas fight. Nikita Krylov, I've seen some of his fights. His record is pretty solid as well. I'm going with him. Alex Perez versus Charles Johnson. That's a good one. That's a good one, right? I'm not a fan of either of those guys. Charles Johnson's got like decent boxing and stuff, and he's pretty big for the weight class. With that being said, I think Alex Perez has got a bit more momentum. I think he's won his last fight, right? Let me see. So I'm gonna go with him. But I am more invested in the main card. In the prelims, I'm only going for like Ateba and Umar. That is the fight I'm really interested in because these guys are like the prospects. These are gonna be the ones who are actually fighting for the title in the future. So these are my main card predictions. Uh, oh, by the way, even on early prelims, I just pulled up the early prelims and they have Michael Johnson fighting on the early prelims. That is insane. And he's fighting Alexander Hernandez, who is also a decent fighter. I don't know if you remember the time when they were trying to push Alexander Hernandez, and then they put him against Cowboy, and Cowboy decimated the guy, so all the hype kind of went down. But then Alexander made a comeback and he started winning the fight. So with this fight, never sleep on Michael Johnson because this guy has good wins. Like Johnson, when they talk about Michael Johnson, right? He's one of those fighters who can lose fights against the guys that you don't even expect him to lose the fights against. You're like, bro, you have been fighting for a long time. You're a decent fighter. Why are you losing to this guy? But then he's also winning fights against guys that you don't expect him to. Like he beat Tony Ferguson, and I do know Tony actually broke his elbow in that fight, so he was fighting with one arm, but he had a win against him. He knocked out Dustin Poirier. He's got great hand speed. He beat him. I'm going with Hernandez as well because I just think that Michael Johnson is at the end of his career and he's a bit inconsistent. He doesn't have the consistency. Like Johnson is a guy who can knock out your best fighters on a day, and then he will lose to somebody that you don't expect him to. So like if you look at his wins, right, he's got pretty decent, like some pretty decent wins against like some really good fighters. But then on some of the nights, he's losing to the guys that you're not even like sure, man. Like this guy's not unranked guys. He's losing to unranked guys some of the times. So I think Alexander Hernandez is just he's just gonna be too much. I guess it's a 3 round fight. Michael Johnson, he's got fast hands. If you can catch him, maybe yes. But also, I think because he's at the end of his career, he's probably not even gonna have that much of like a speed advantage. So it will be difficult. Yeah, he has a lot of fights, by the way. Michael Johnson has 25 wins, 19 losses. That's a lot of. Uh, Hernandez is on a somewhat of a comeback right now. Yeah, I don't know how many fights he's won like recently, but he's been winning since then, since like last few fights, I think. Okay, let's pull up his record. Okay, so Hernandez's last fight was against Diego Ferreira. Did I watch the fight? So he won that fight. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, by the way. The fight before that was Chase Hooper. I remember Chase Hooper fight. We were actually watching at like a casino. There's a lot of people actually watching the fight, and most of the people had their money on Chase Hooper. I was like, no, Alexander Hernandez is going to be too hard for Chase Hooper to beat because Chase is very good on the ground, but Chase does not have wrestling. He's got good jiu-jitsu, but he's very lanky. Like, he doesn't blast the double legs or the single legs. Most of his takedowns are like body takedowns, and if you can avoid that, it's very hard for Chase to actually get you on the ground. And the fight before that, I mean, one against some unranked guy, and then before that was some unranked guy as well. But the last two wins have been fine. Like Diego Ferreira, that's a decent win. Chase Hooper is a decent win. So he's on like a somewhat of a comeback. And the next fight against Michael Johnson, man, he wins that fight, and I'm sure he will be in the it'll be in top 10 after that, I guess. Okay, so we're done with that. Is there anything left that we haven't discussed? Yeah, Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. I'm to be honest, I'm like a pretty much casual in boxing. Do I know this guy, by the way, Callum Walsh? I definitely know him. Watched like Instagram reels, but I don't think I've actually watched him like fight properly. Callum Walsh, Irish boxer. He is 24 years old, 5'9", competes in the light middleweight division and is currently the WBC Continental America's superweight champion. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen him fight. I have seen him fight, but I've never watched his fights, full fights. Who is he dating, by the way? Cameron's girlfriend. Oh, that's his girlfriend. Um. Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah, I'll be looking for that fight. Who is he fighting, by the way? Callum Walsh versus. Is he fighting Carlos Ocampe? Who is your favorite boxer, by the way? The last time I watched a boxing fight was, I mean, I watched the recent Misfit events and stuff like, but that was like celebrity boxing that I watched. Joshua versus Jake. Watched that event. Before that, I watched Canelo. The actual boxing fight that I actually watched was Canelo versus Crawford. That was the one, and I predicted Canelo to win because I thought Canelo was going to be too much for Crawford. He's going to put the pressure on. He was going to be able to hold his own, and Crawford, I thought, was too small for Canelo, but that didn't go like that. It is Crawford. I was so surprised by the ability to actually not just being evasive and be able to avoid the shots, but also stand in the middle sometimes and bang with Canelo because he's very precise actually. And you know what actually surprises me about Crawford is like it's his high guard as well. Like sometimes it's very tight guard. Like with some of the boxers, like with Floyd, right? He was very good counter puncher. Like he would do like he had a counter cross. He would slip the punches sometimes. He would do like a pullback and a counter. With Crawford, yes, he will do some of those things, but he is also very good at like keeping the guard. Like he will take a shot because he knows he can block the shot and then he will throw it back. So I was impressed by that. Like there were times when he was trading with Canelo in the pocket, and Canelo loves trading in the pockets, and I was impressed that Crawford was actually able to do it. The other guy I think has a very good guard. It's Javante Davis. And Javante is like one of the best as well. Not the most high output, but one of the best counter strikers. My favorite boxer is Javante Davis. When I was doing my last interclub, actually, I that's the guy I was watching. That's the guy I was watching every single day. I was watching his fights. I was like, I need to watch Javante because first of all, we're probably the same weight class. Like I'm 135 as well. I can cut to 125, but I like 135. And he had a bit of a similar style to me, like the way he fights. Like he likes to do counter attacks. Okay, let's do like a small quiz. Who do you think is the hardest? Who do you think is the hardest hitter? No, actually, do something else before. Who do you think is the best boxer in the in history? Who would you put as like the top five boxers if you're making a list of top five boxers in the history? How would you make the list? Let me pull up the best boxers list as well. So we have like names, best boxers in the world. Okay. Okay, right now we got Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk, I love it, man. I love the style of Alexander Usyk. Definitely, you got to put him on the list. Southpaw, the way he moves, dude, he's always slipping the punches. He's so good. The footwork is amazing. One of the best counter strikers. And one of the abilities that he can also press. Mike Tyson is my favorite boxer. I don't know if he's the best boxer. I think Alexander Usyk, I might put him a bit higher on the list. Some people also believe that Mike Tyson in his prime was unbeatable, but he had a very small prime. Like if you're talking about like 1988 Mike Tyson, right? 87, 88, I think. He was going through the competition. This guy had like 13 fights in a year or something like this. He was running through the competition. Only when he was like 20 years old, by the way. And then he lost his prime because he got involved in the drugs and the girls and the court cases and the stuff. Ali, definitely one of the best boxers. Ali, very good counter striker. Tall, a bit tall for that time, 6'3". Pacquiao, unbelievable. Pacquiao was good. If I'm making a list of like the top five boxers, I'm not gonna put Pacquiao on the list just because he had a few losses. And I know a lot of people had the losses, but it's like Pacquiao, he's very good. He's good, but he's like hittable. I think he's one of those guys who's like a bit hittable. Like he had a relentless pace. And I'm not saying he doesn't have good defense. He's got good defense. But I just think because of his size, right? Pacquiao was smaller than most of the guys that he was fighting. And because of the size, some of the things make it more impressive because he was able to knock out guys that were bigger than him. But also because of that, I think he was getting controlled by some of the guys. Like if you watch Floyd versus Pacquiao, right? Floyd, I would put Floyd higher than Pacquiao. I used to like Pacquiao more because I think he was the one who would actually press the pressure. Like Floyd would try to avoid fighting in some of the fights. Like watch the fight against Madonna, Floyd is just running around in the fight. Against some of the other guys as well. Like even Pacquiao fight, Floyd is kind of running around, but I think it worked better for him. Like it was just hard to hit. Pacquiao was he would get hit some of the times, and we have the image of him going to sleep when he was fighting. Who was he fighting, man? That was it Oscar De La? It wasn't Oscar De La Hoya. It was a guy that put Pacquiao to sleep. Pacquiao had like 2 or 3 matches with him. Who KO'd Manny Pacquiao? Yeah, it was Manuel Marquez. I do remember that. With a devastating one punch right hand in the 6th round of the 4th fight in December 2012. That was the knockout of the year and the fight of the year awards. So I do remember that one. That image was so bad. That never happened to Floyd Mayweather. But you know what? Who else I want to put on the list? And you might disagree with it. It's Terrence Crawford. I want to put Terrence Crawford on the list, and nobody puts him because when you're talking about like the greatest boxers, he doesn't get the best hype. It's like he's not the biggest star. And even now, when you're talking about like who is the best boxer right now, people are gonna say, "Oh, Canelo, Lomachenko was a good boxer, Usyk was a great boxer." But Terrence Crawford, I think he's always under the radar. And now you're saying Crawford. That's good that you recognize, but I think he just doesn't get the same sort of like he doesn't get the same spotlight. He didn't make the same amount of money, and it was because I think he doesn't talk shit. He doesn't. He's never the one calling out the boxers and like creating the storylines, and so that was the reason. And he retired, and like even now he talks about it. He's like, watch him on like Aiden Ross when he was streaming with them. It's like he's talking about the same thing because he was like he's just a nice guy. That's why he didn't get the recognition that he deserves, and unfortunately, it works like that in boxing business. So I definitely want to put Crawford because I see so many abilities in him. Undefeated, 42-0, a lot of knockouts as well. A guy who could be evasive like Floyd Mayweather. He could do the footwork. He could stay outside. But a guy who could also put pressure on you and knock you out. I put him higher than Floyd Mayweather, personally. My favorite, Mike Tyson. My favorite boxer, Mike Tyson, number one. Um, I'm gonna put him as greatest because I think in his prime it was kind of unbeatable. I'm gonna put it pretty high. Um, and then I'm gonna put Alexander Usyk. I'm gonna put Alexander Usyk because I think even though Crawford is great, I think Usyk just had more sort of like he had more wins against like a higher level competition, I would say, or bigger names. Let's say Joshua, Tyson Fury. Who else did he beat? Daniel Dubois. And I'm considering them big wins, even though Dubois is not like a high level. I wouldn't put him as like one of the highest level fighters, but it's because Usyk moved up a weight class, and everybody doubted him. Nobody thought that he would be able to handle the punch from like heavyweights. Nobody thought that was going to be the case, right? But he was able to do it. So Daniel Dubois and a lot of other guys. So I'll put Alexander Usyk as number 2. I'm gonna put Terence Crawford as number 3, and I'm gonna put Muhammad Ali as number 4, and then I'm gonna put. Am I missing a boxer? I mean Sugar Ray Leonard, but I haven't watched a lot of his fights. That's the thing, right? Like with the old boxers, I haven't watched a lot of their fights. I know George Foreman was pretty good, but it was pretty much power. I know Joe Frazier is pretty good, but it was more like, oh, he was just throwing the hooks. Um, I've heard like Sugar Ray Leonard was really good, and I think his moment was actually pretty good. So I'll put Sugar Ray Leonard as like number 5. We also got Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson on 31st, by the way. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. Lopez actually surprised me when he beat Lomachenko for the first time. I don't know if it was a robbery or not, but Lopez hits hard. Shakur Stevenson, this is the guy that I need to watch more fights of, but it just seems like he's a good fighter. Like I watched some of his highlights, people talk about him a lot, but that's the fight that I need to do more search on the fight, and maybe I could do like a stream on that fight and be like, all right, today I'm just gonna be watching fights of Teofimo Lopez, and I'm just gonna be watching fights of Shakur Stevenson, and then we're gonna break it down. So I need to watch more fights to actually do a breakdown. I don't really know who's gonna win that fight. Um, it's on 31st of January, so this month. Okay, let's put up the record actually. How many losses and wins they have. Teofimo Lopez record. Teofimo Lopez has 23 bouts. He's only got 1 loss, and as far as I can remember, that was against Lomachenko, but I can check it. Who did Teofimo Lopez lose to? No, he lost to George Kambosos. Because I thought he fought Lomachenko twice and he lost. He won 1 time and he lost 1 time. But it seems like he beat Lomachenko and then he lost to Kambosos. Okay, so... and now I'm going to look at a record of Shakur Stevenson. Oh, so Shakur Stevenson is undefeated. He's 24-0. But I also want to look at the level of the competition. I got Shakur, but I gotta watch more of him. Like you said, I've seen Teo and not super impressed. Not super impressed. I mean, Teo, he does hold his ground. He does hit pretty hard. He was able to put a lot of pressure on Lomachenko in that fight. Okay, so I want to see the competition of Teofimo, Shakur Stevenson, actually, the fights that he had. Okay, so he won his last fight against William Zepeda, Artem Haritunian, Robin Casino, Oscar Valdez, James Herring. Okay, by the way, Shakur Stevenson, although he's great, I've heard from a lot of people, like everybody knows Shakur is great, perfect record. Do you think he has faced the level of competition that Lopez has actually faced? Because I think that could play in Lopez's favor. I feel like Lopez has faced better competition. how many fights is Lopez actually he having? He was ducking Haney. I mean, if he's ducking Haney, he should probably lose this fight. Like, cause Haney got destroyed by Garcia, and yeah, maybe Haney was not the best in that fight, and nobody actually expected Garcia to win the fight like that. To be honest, I was supporting Garcia though, but he caught Haney many times. So, but Haney's underrated as well, man. Like Haney, he does have some good wins. So I'm looking at Lopez record, and he beat Lomachenko. That's a great win. He lost to Cambosos. He beat Josh Taylor, Madison Square Garden. That's not a bad win. And then he's fighting Shakur Stevenson. Okay. So David Haney has also got. I like David Haney has got like a solid resume, right? Like that's what I was thinking. Like this guy's also beaten Vasily Lomachenko, and I know Lomachenko is probably like at the end of his career, but minus 295 favorite. That is massive favorite actually. So people do expect him to win. We'll find out. So David Haney has beaten Lomachenko. He's beaten Cambosos. So Cambosos is the guy who beat Teofimo Lopez. Haney has beaten him, and now you're saying he's beaten Cambosos twice. Actually, that is insane. All right. Yeah. So David Haney has a solid record, and if David Haney is ducking you, then it means you are really good. So I guess Stevenson has to be the favorite in this match. Which other fights are you interested in, by the way? Man, there's a guy that they're talking about, like Canelo is ducking as well. Like a lot of people say that Canelo is ducking David Benavidez. Do you agree with this, by the way? And I've seen some of the fights of David Benavidez. That guy is massive, and he puts on a pressure like nobody else. He's just moving forward. He doesn't care about taking a punch. He's one of those guys who would take a punch to give a punch. He is relentless, and he went against like a light heavyweight in his last fight where he demolished him. The other guy was actually bigger than him, and David Benavidez just put it on him. His pressure is like nobody else. So that's the fight I also want to see. Canelo versus him, or maybe Bivol versus him, because Bivol is like big, right? Bivol would be a good fight. I'm a big fan of Canelo as well, man. I just love the fighting style. Like his slips when Canelo is slipping and rolling, that's just different. I think Canelo gets a little bit flat-footed though sometimes. Like when he's fighting a boxer who is very good at evading the punches, I think he gets a bit like confused sometimes. Like Woj is fighting as Floyd Mayweather, and I know he was only 23 years old, so that was probably not the best Canelo Alvarez. But it's like Floyd was making him miss. He couldn't really hit him. The same thing because Floyd was really fast on his feet. Same thing with like Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is very fast for his feet. He came from a lower weight class, and he was able to keep the speed with him. Canelo was having a hard time to actually catch him. You've seen this sometimes. Okay, so I am gonna put some fights of Shakur Stevenson. Let's watch. Let's watch Shakur Stevenson right now. Shakur Stevenson. We're gonna watch some of the highlights of Shakur Stevenson. Okay, so we're putting William Zepeda versus Shakur Stevenson.
Listen up, Lycra lady. A new podcast. Everybody. Dianos. It uses clever AI to build you a super smart website in no time. And you can use many tools to start growing your business. Nice.
What do you think about like
Try it, darling.
what do you think about Francis Ngannou, by the way? What do you think about Francis Ngannou in the PFL? Do you think he should move to UFC? I know UFC doesn't want to do any business with him, but do you think there's any like fantasy matchups for Francis Ngannou in UFC right now? Okay, Shakur is in the corner. He's kind of defending. High guard. Um, okay, Zepeda is trying to put it on Shakur Stevenson. So far, Shakur's defense has been on point. Okay, Shakur is like a counter striker as well, right? He's fighting exactly like I would say Javante Davis at some points. If you watch a Tank Davis fight, right? It's like Tank would stand. He's not always moving backwards. He would stand at one place, and then he's kind of covering, and then he would just slip, and then he would throw. Yeah. Yeah, Shakur is just standing. He's standing his ground. Beautiful right hook. Oh shit, Shakur got clipped with the right hand. Oh my god. Yeah, man, it was like the negotiations with the UFC. Dana White did not like him, and apparently he pushed Dana White as well. He got a bit physical with Dana White and Hunter Campbell. What's his name? Hunter or something. But yeah, there's so many fantasy matchups like him versus John Jones, him versus. I doubt that John Jones will actually take this fight right now, but him versus Tom Aspinall would be a good fight. Though it would never happen. Imagine Alex Pereira fighting Francis at heavyweight, and Ngannou would probably maul Alex. Dude, I think you know what, with Alex Pereira and Francis Ngannou, that fight could go either way. Like you would probably think that Francis Ngannou is like much bigger than Alex Pereira. He would just ragdoll him, which is a possibility because we know Ngannou can actually wrestle, right? So if Ngannou is trying to take him down, Alex Pereira can't do anything with that. He cannot block the. He's not gonna be able to defend the takedowns because Ngannou is just fucking super strong. He might not be the best wrestlers, but he's super strong and he's a better wrestler at least than Alex Pereira, right? So he can maul him. But don't get me wrong, Alex Pereira does have a shot because he's much more precise than Ngannou, and he does have a lot of power, so he can catch Ngannou. He might not be able to like fucking knock him out with one punch. Might not be able to drop him down, but holding down Alex. And the thing with Francis Ngannou is like he's not even the guy who can hold you, who's gonna hold you down and just not do anything. He's gonna do heavy punches. Watch the fight where him versus who was he fighting in the last PFL fight? Diego Ferrero, somebody like that. He mauled him, destroyed him, took him down, and then ground and pound. Imagine Francis Ngannou is on top of you and is doing the ground and pound. Like you're not taking those shots. So I think that would be the end of Alex Pereira. With that being said, I think Pereira is just overall a much better fighter, right? Pereira can do a lot of damage to Francis's legs. He can stay outside. Also, is coming from a lower weight class, right? So he's going to be faster than Francis Ngannou. He's going to pose threats for him. He's a better kicker than Francis Ngannou. So it will be the best striker that Francis Ngannou has ever fought. And if Pereira can evade all the shots, and if he can stay outside so Francis cannot shoot his legs, right? If he kicks every single time, like he's doing low kicks when Francis is about to shoot, Pereira could very well actually win this fight. I could see that happen as well. Alex versus Francis in boxing would be sick. Boxing, Alex Pereira is gonna be technically much stronger than Francis Ngannou, but at the same time, I'm thinking like Alex Pereira cannot use his kicks in boxing, and he has a great advantage in the kicking game. Like Francis does not kick much, right? Francis can probably throw like one kick. That's what he does, like one, two kicks, but he doesn't really throw kicks. He's more like a boxer with like a bit of a takedown offensive style. But with Alex Pereira, there's like a great kicking advantage. He's got. He's good at very good at like chopping the legs. He's so good, but he can also do head kicks. We've seen him doing the head kicks. We've seen him doing like the knees. He's good at that. So I think we'll be interested in boxing, but I also think like you're taking one thing away from Alex Pereira. But yeah, even in boxing, it could go either way. Because Francis is a decent boxer as well. I think Alex Pereira would be a bit more skilled, but the problem with Francis is that when you're fighting Francis, you just don't want to get hit, and if Pereira gets hit, that's a problem. Especially with that like weight difference. Like we're talking about Pereira's not actually 205. He's actually 235 outside the cage, right? But Francis is not 265 either. Francis cuts to 265. He's like 280, 290 outside. So there's still a massive size difference. I think that's a winnable fight, but I also think that's a very interesting fight because I just want to see the difference in the. I just want to see the difference in the power that I would be interested in, and also I know Cyril is a different type of striker. Alex Pereira is more like a. Alex can evade the punches, but Alex likes to stand. He would slip, he would throw his shots, he would throw leg kicks from outside. He's a great kickboxer, but Cyril Gane is more like he's more like a what do I want to say? What's a word I actually want to use? It's more like a do I want to say taekwondo? He doesn't throw a lot of high kicks, but he does throw a lot of leg kicks, and it's more like an evasive sort of style. Like I want to score the points. It's more like, all right, my stance is very open. I want to throw a jab. I want to go out. I come in. I throw two jabs. I throw a leg kick. I go out. He's doing a lot of oblique kicks, so there's a lot of motion involved, which I think could be very difficult against Alex Pereira because Cyril Gane likes to do it for 5 rounds, right? But he can't put that pace on the heavyweights who are much slower than Alex Pereira. With Alex Pereira, Alex is going to take a lot of motion from his leg out because Alex is going to kick his legs a lot. They both are the same height. Cyril is going to have the weight advantage. So I want to see how Alex Pereira handles that difference in power in some of the shots, right? Like Alex Pereira has got one shot KO power. Cyril Gane probably doesn't have it, but he's fighting the heavyweight. So I don't really know how that translates to light heavyweight. When Cyril is fighting the heavyweights and he's throwing one shots, he's not knocking out heavyweights. But it might be different for when he's hitting a light heavyweight, right? It could affect Alex Pereira. So I don't really know how that's going to affect him. And we're not just talking about like the KO shots. What about like the normal shots that you're not throwing with the intentions of like knocking each other out? Like the simple leg kicks. Like Alex Pereira's leg kick, they're very vicious. They're very effective against the light heavyweights. Do they hold the same power against like the heavyweights? Does it slow down the motion of the heavyweights exactly the same way because their bones are going to be much more dense and they probably can take it? With the Shama left hook that can drop light heavyweights like with one shot, would it have the same effect against a heavyweight? And Cyril is known to have like a good chin. The only time this guy's lost is against the grapplers when they've been able to take him down, but he's always been able to take the shots. Like when you saw him fighting Francis Ngannou, Ngannou was able to catch him with the shot sometimes, but Cyril could take the shot. He has that ability. So I don't really know. I think stylistically it's just a good matchup because technically I think these guys are super high level when it comes to just striking. And it's gonna stay on the feet because I don't think either of those guys are gonna be shooting for the takedowns. Cyril doesn't. It's not that guy. He doesn't have wrestling. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I think it will go to 5 rounds personally. I think it will go to 5 rounds. I don't think either of them would get a finish, but it'll be interesting to see who actually wins. I would pick Pereira, to be honest. I think this is Pereira's biggest shot because he would struggle against the guys who could take him down. Like let's say Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall would be a bad matchup because Tom can take him down. Um, who else is there? Jalton Almeida could be a bad matchup because Almeida can take him down. Um, Francis Ngannou, if Ngannou is able to take him down, that could be a bad matchup. But Cyril Gane, I think it's a good matchup. Stylistically, it's a decent matchup. Or like Alex Pereira versus Volkov, that's a good matchup. Volkov, even though he's much taller, he's like 6'9" versus 6'5", beautiful striker as well. But I think that's a winnable fight for Alex Pereira because it's going to be a striking match. Alex can win that fight. John Jones, bad matchup. If you're looking at stylistically, it's a bad matchup. John Jones is one of the best wrestlers. We know that, especially at heavyweight. He's a nightmare matchup for Alex Pereira. He can take him down, maul him. And John is one of the guys, by the way, who can finish him with submissions. Like the other guys that we're talking about don't even have the best submissions, but Jones actually has good submissions as well. And Jones is good at mixing up as well. Like Jones is one of those MMA guys who just have the brains. Like he knows when to shoot the takedowns, when not to shoot the takedowns. He's not going to rush it. He has a lot of experience. And he has decent striking as well. Like if your striking is bad and you're depressed for the takedowns, it's like you're desperate for the takedowns. That's the word. If you're desperate for the takedown, sometimes strikers can actually see that coming and they can time the knee and they can get out of the way. But with Jones, because his striking is so decent, like it's very decent striking, when he shoots the takedowns, people don't actually know when he's shooting for it. He's not desperate for the takedowns. He can shoot it. He can hold his own on the feet. But when he feels like shooting, when he sees the opportunity, that's when he shoots for the takedowns. So I think Alex Pereira versus John Jones, bad matchup for Alex Pereira, but I wouldn't say no. Everybody wants to see that fight. They can make a lot of money with that fight. People would be interested in that. Two of the biggest names that the sport has in the higher weight classes. And Alex is not favored to win the fight, but he can. It's not like Alex cannot win the fight. If you look at John Jones' last few fights, like watch his fights against Stipe Miocic, he won that fight, but he was fighting a Stipe Miocic who was 42 years old, who was at the end of his career, who was coming back after like a 3 to 4 years layoff, who didn't have a proper camp because he was doing a job. You know that even when he was fighting John Jones, he was also doing a job. Like he was doing like the fire brigade job. He was still doing that, and he had like a 4 weeks camp, just like 3 to 4 weeks camp. He didn't properly train for the fight, and he looked super slow. If you watch the fight again, Stipe looked super slow in the fight. It was not the Stipe Miocic in his prime, and even he was able to clip John Jones a few times. So if that guy can clip John Jones a few times, I'm sure Alex Pereira is coming from light heavyweight division, and who is a much better striker than Stipe Miocic, and who actually used kicks as well. Like Stipe is like a Golden Glove boxer. That's it. He's got boxing and wrestling. That's it. Alex Pereira, who can actually throw beautiful leg kicks, beautiful head kicks. I'm sure if that match happens, Alex is going to be able to clip him a few times, and Jones is going to be a little bit more desperate for the takedowns. But with that being said, Alex Pereira is going to be more easy to control on the ground. Like with Stipe, Jones did get a takedown, but controlling Stipe on the ground was a little bit more difficult than Alex Pereira because Stipe is actually a good wrestler. So Jones has a chance to take Alex down. But you know what? You never know. You never know. Jones going for the takedown. Alex does like a Alex does a beautiful knee and then drops Jones. It could be something like that. We know John Jones has got good chin. We know he can take a shot, but we never know, man. Alex lands that Shama left hook. It could be lights out. So even though I think it's the fight that John Jones won, it's a very winnable fight for John Jones. Jones is going to be a massive favorite going into the fight. I still want to see that fight right now because there's no other option. There was a time when I said no to the fight because I wanted to see Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. I knew he was ducking that fight, so I was like, that's the only matchup that makes sense. But now we know that Jones versus Aspinall, that's never going to happen. There's no point of even asking for that fight. So might as well just see Alex Pereira fight John Jones. He wants to go up the weight class anyway, right? He wants to do what nobody has been able to do, achieve 3 belts in 3 different weight classes. Is the opportunity that Alex wants. And I think he's done everything in the light heavyweight division. He's defended his title 3 times. He's won the title again. There's nobody else to beat. Carlos Urberg is he's not the name that fans are actually looking for to become the champion. It's not like nobody's asking for Carlos Urberg or Alex Pereira. It's not like he's ducking Carlos Urberg if he goes up. So and Carlos Urberg has been put in a match against Jiri Prohaska, which makes me think that Alex is going up. So if he is going up and he is facing somebody, I would say him versus John Jones. Do that. Do that. If they want to do if they want to do Pereira versus Gane before that, like if they want to save John Jones' match for the White House, then I think they do have the option to do Pereira versus Gane. Maybe in February. Maybe do that matchup in February for the interim title. And then if Pereira wins the interim title championship, then you could have that matchup against John Jones for the interim championship. And you have that in the White House. And one person is coming with the belt. So now you have a title on the line as well, which actually increases the value of the match. This match already has value because you have one of the greatest fighters of all time, John Jones, steroid cheat, whatever you want to say. That's all true. But he's a massive name. So you have that guy against Alex Pereira, who's a 2-time champion in 2 different weight classes. The fight itself has a lot of value. But then if you put an interim title on the fight as well, that increases the value. And then just the fact that they're fighting in the White House, that's another value. So, I'll be interested in the fight. Do you think it's time for Arman Saryukian to get a title fight, and what are his chances against Topuria? Okay, so I have changed my mind on this completely. Do I think that Arman Saryukian should get a title shot? I think he should be the next one in line. Do I think that he's actually going to get it? I think it's going to be like a year. And you can see that from Arman's language when he speaks. He knows he's not getting a title shot. Watch when he gets asked this question about the title shot. It's like, I'm probably going to get like the BMF title shot. That's what he's asking for because he knows he's not getting it. So we have Paddy fighting Justin in January, which means the next title fight is going to be the White House. And Ilya Topuria has already hinted, I saw that post on Instagram, that he's going to be fighting the winner of Paddy versus Gaethje in June. So initially I thought maybe Ilya was going to move up. He was going to fight Islam and then Arman gets the title. But we know that's not happening right now. So it's going to be Ilya fighting on the White House card. against one of those guys, which I don't think they deserve that. But anyway, which means Arman is going to have to fight somebody else. Now, we also know that Max Holloway is fighting Charles Oliveira in March. So if both of those guys, if one of those guys is fit to actually make it to the White House card, I would say make that against Arman Sarukian for the BMF belt. All right, then Arman Sarukian fights on the same guy, and maybe by the end of the year, Arman Sarukian get a title shot, or maybe like January. So it's going to be very late. So I don't think this is the time they're going to give him the title shot. But I have shifted my opinion that who is going to be the winner. Initially, I thought Ilya was going to be a bad matchup for Arman Sarukian because Ilya's wrestling was so good, right? We saw that against Charles Oliveira. And I was like, he's going to be able to defend most of the takedowns from Arman Sarukian. And Ilya's striking is just so good that Arman Sarukian is not going to be able to hold his own on the feet. I did think that Arman was a hard guy to finish, so I thought maybe the fight was going to go to like 3 rounds. Arman is still fighting on the feet. Ilya is defending the takedowns. Arman probably got one takedown, but then Ilya gets back up. It was going to be like a back and forth. But then Ilya finally finds a shot and knocks him out in the 3rd round. That was my initial prediction. But after watching Arman, doing sparring with Hamzat Chimaev, doing rounds with Hamzat Chimaev, showing his improvements in grappling, doing grappling rounds all around the world. He has like 7 grappling fights in the last 2 years. Doing wrestling, just mauling Lance Palmer in a wrestling match, who's like a former NCAA finalist, and improving his striking in the last fight. Like when I watched Dan Hooker versus Arman Sarukian, I was so impressed. I was like, bro, this guy's IQ level is so high as well. Like he knows when to shoot now. Like he's showing better improvements in the IQ level. His striking has improved. He's a very athletic guy. Like he can throw the head kicks and do all of this stuff. He's shooting right. And the way he's controlling the guys, I think Arman beats Ilya now. I just think he's going to be able to do it. And you know what? There's a difference between Arman and Charles. Charles was fighting stupidly. When he's fighting Ilya Topuria, you don't just come in. He was putting the pressure on Ilya Topuria. That's not the way. Arman doesn't fight that way. And Charles, he's more like a jiu-jitsu wrestler. Like his takedowns come from a body lock. He's going to get like a hard body lock. Then he's looking for the throw, or he's getting a body lock and he's going back. Arman shoots double, single. I think he can take him down. If Bryce Mitchell was able to take him down, I think Arman can take him down. Disaster, 12 disaster. Arman versus Patty Justin. Since Arman has been polishing his social media presence lately, yeah, that's what I want to do, bro. I thought because he's getting a lot of fans now, right? He's been on stream like every day. He was on with Neon. He was on with Matan. He's on with like all of those guys. But he's on with Aiden Ross. But it's just not happening. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because Ilya is getting the title shot. Hopefully, they should open up a 165 division, and the perfect matchup would be Islam versus Ilya for possibly a new division. 165 would be a good shot. With that being said, I think Islam destroys him, bro. 165, Islam is going to be big for the 155 division as well. Right now, this guy's so big. He's so strong. And I think even at 165, Ilya is going to be a bit undersized. It's not a good matchup for Ilya. 2 double champs fighting for the 3rd belt to make history with new division. Ilya is too small for 170, and Islam not willing to move down to 155 anymore would be peak. Islam is not willing to move down to 155. He's not going to be able to do it. He's going to be dehydrated. He's going to look like a skeleton. Even watch his last fight at 155. He was looking really slim. So that is not happening. And now we know that he has eaten a lot of creatine. He's on, he's on a different sort of diet. He's on a DC diet right now. He is expanded. He's big. He's massive. So that's not going to happen. 165 can possibly happen. Would it sell a lot of tickets? Yes. Scale-wise, would that be the best fight? Yes, these are the pound for pound, 2 biggest pound for pound. So that fight would do a lot of business. So from the business point of view, it does make a lot of sense, right? And then you can have a fight like the winner of this fight actually gets a 3rd title, and that'll be the first time that you have a guy in UFC who's winning 3 titles, because you never had a guy winning titles in 3 weight classes. That's never happened, and that would be guaranteed in that fight. So if you could actually do that, like them both fighting for the 165 title, and that's a first match for the 165, like you create the division, and that's how you start the division, basically a title fight between 2 of the best. That's how we're starting the division. The division will get a lot of shine as well because of that. With that being said, I think Islam takes him. I think Islam is just a hard matchup for Ilya Topuria. The only way Ilya could actually beat Islam is like defend the takedowns, keep the pressure on. But the only thing is, right, with some of the other guys, Ilya's been able to keep the pressure on because they were not going to shoot on Ilya Topuria, like with Volkanovski. He can keep the pressure on. He knows Volk is not going to shoot. He's chasing Max Holloway. Max Holloway is evading punches. He's outside because he knows he's not going to shoot. But Islam, Ilya cannot do the same thing. He cannot stay on Islam. He cannot stay on him. Islam is going to be able to take him down. Islam is going to shoot for the takedown as soon as Ilya closes the distance. And yes, Ilya can time some of the shots. He can stay ready for when Islam actually shoots. But once you get taken down and once you get mauled a little bit, once you get control of the ground, it's like you do want to do the same thing again. People hesitate sometimes. It's just a bit different. So I just think, yeah, I think it's a good idea to do 165. I think it's just not good enough for Ilya. And man, Ilya needs to defend his title as well. Like you look at Islam Makhachev, right? Islam Makhachev defended his title 4 times at 155 before he actually moved to 170. Ilya fought at 145 and defended his title 1 time. Now he's at 155. He has not defended his title yet. The first time he's actually defending against Gaethje versus Patty. That's the guy he's going to be defending against. So it's only one title defense. So do you actually want to reward people with the title shots after just like one defense? Is that what you want to do? I don't think it's the best idea because that's gonna destroy the whole system of the UFC. But I see the star power, and I know what UFC does, like with the guys who have like big star presence, who they know are gonna be able to sell the tickets, and maybe the fans wouldn't criticize us because it's just a skill, even skill wise, that's like the highest skill fight, right? These guys can do everything, like literally, they can do jujitsu, they can do wrestling, they can do boxing. They're just high level at everything. So I do see that. What else? What other fights are we looking at? What other fights could be interested in UFC right now? I am also interested in 145. I'm the next fight we have for the title is Volkanovski is fighting Diego Lopez, but that fight did not make any sense. It's like they just know that it's the first Paramount. Well, that's not the first Paramount because the first Paramount is like Patty. Well, it's the second Paramount card, right? Because it's the second Paramount card, and because there's going to be a lot of spotlight, right? Paramount just did a deal. We want to see beautiful knockouts, so that's why they put on a fight that will actually bring in a lot of action. Lopez versus Volkanovski. Did anybody want to see that fight? No, because we just saw it. We just saw Volkanovski dominating him for like 4 rounds. So that fight, when that fight actually happens and you do have a winner, I'm picking Volkanovski to actually win the fight. But after that, I'll be interested because you have two undefeated contenders. You have Laren Murphy and then you have Movsar Evloev. And I think one of those guys should be getting the title shot. And I know what UFC is doing. There are rumors they're going to be booking Evloev versus Murphy, which I don't think is the best decision because you're putting two undefeated fighters against each other. You're taking the O from one of them, and then you're putting that guy against the champion. Why not put one of those guys against Volkanovski, and then the undefeated guy against somebody else, and then they get another victory, and then if they end up winning the next fight, then put them against Volkanovski again. I think that should be the best way. And I know what UFC is looking. They're trying to like slim down the opponents. They're looking at the competition. They were like, okay, these are the two guys. We need to book one guy against Volkanovski. We're just trimming it down to one guy. Okay, put them against each other. But I just don't like two undefeated fighters going against each other, especially when you have young prospects, right? They haven't won a title yet. I think you could sell both of them. I think with the undefeated guys, keep them undefeated until they have a title fight. Then you put them against a champion. And that should be the first loss they're taking because even though they could be taking a loss, that's the time they're getting all the spotlight. See, they want to take the shine from the fighter who's going to retire in like a few years. Like Volkanovski is at the end of his career. He has already said it. He's going to retire. He could retire after this fight, or he could retire after like a few fights. So when you have an undefeated guy going against that champion of that caliber who's won the title multiple times, who's been ruling the division for like a long, long time, that undefeated guy gets a shine from the champ. He might lose this match, but at least people will recognize him. That's what you want. That's what you really want to see. And if you have Kabir Tropoevala, shut up, bro. You have 4 viewers. Okay, bro. Well, give me a better opinion then. Tell me something that I don't know. What fights do you want to see at 145? Kabir Wala, how many followers do you have, by the way, bro? How many viewers do you have, right? How much content have you produced? If you're coming at me like that, okay, I've only got 4 viewers and you ask me to shut up. Well, you're on my channel right now. And tell me if you have any better opinions, if you think okay, so I'm talking about like the 145 titles. So we have those guys. So that's what I want to see. First of all, I don't think they should have booked Diego Lopez in that fight. I don't think that should have happened. I think it should have been Leron Murphy. Mozart Evloev, I get it because the guy has been a bit inactive for like a while and he's been injured and that's why he's not been able to fight. But nobody cares. Nobody cares. Why? Because you don't watch UFC. What do you watch? Do you watch soccer? Do you watch badminton? I do have a job. Yeah, I do have a job. I don't have to explain myself. Okay, so then this could have been a better way. This could have been a much better way. They could have done it, but they didn't do it. I think UFC messed up big time. They're looking at the Paramount deal and they're like, all right, we want to keep the Paramount deal. We want to put like the best matches on. But it's like, are these the best matches? Does anybody want to see those matches? Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see those matches, but they're putting it on. So I guess we're going to have to live with it. And yeah, let's see what happens. Uh, what's happening with 135, by the way? So 135. I think Peter Yan is a great champion. I think he's also winning the next fight because the next fight is most probably going to be like Sugar Sean O'Malley. I know that UFC has put Sugar Sean O'Malley on the main card instead of Umar Nurmagomedov when they had a chance because they want Sugar to thrive in that match. They want Sugar to beat Song Yadong. They gave him a very favorable matchup when they knew that they could have made Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Umar Nurmagomedov actually in the number one contender fight. That would have been the easiest way for the title. Like you have a guy fighting, you have one of the best guys fighting one of the former best guys, and then you can determine who's the best guy to actually fight Peter Yan. That would have been the simplest way, but they didn't go that way because they thought that Umar was going to be able to beat Sugar Sean O'Malley. They don't want to risk it. And plus, Sugar Sean versus Song Yadong, that stylistically makes a lot of sense. It's a favorable matchup for the first Paramount card, so that's what they want to see. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with that fight. I think Sugar Sean O'Malley, he gets a win via unanimous decision, and then you have Umar fighting Figueiredo, which I think also going to be a unanimous decision because how is Omar going to finish Figueiredo? Figueiredo is a hard guy to get finished, to be honest, with the knockouts and stuff. Submission, I see submission happening very difficult as well because Figueiredo is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's going to be able to hold his own, most probably. So then we'll see what happens with that. Robert Kenjin Key, yes, you the shit, stay on the wall, staying on the wall. I don't know what that means. Okay, so that's what that would have been interesting. That would have been interesting. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Omar Nurmagomedov would have been interesting, but it's happening right now. I think the only way Omar can actually get a title shot if he gets a finish against Figueiredo, if he gets like a submission or a knockout finish, which is kind of unlikely, and Sugar Sean O'Malley loses the fight, or he puts on like a terrible performance. It's like a close fight, but it's not an exciting fight. If it's like a boring fight, which is very difficult because it's fighting Song Yadong, who likes to throw hands. So the most likely scenario I can see is like if O'Malley gets finished himself and Omar actually ends up winning the fight. In that case, O'Malley might actually retire because I don't see him fighting for like a long, long time. He has expressed it before, so I don't really know if O'Malley is gonna stick for like a long, long period of time. So it might be Omar versus Peter Yan. And if it's Omar versus Peter Yan, you know that fight is gonna sell a lot. That fight is gonna go to. Then they're fighting in the White House. Oh no, I'm gonna correct myself because these are Russian fighters, and we just got a news that it's not gonna be in the White House. But around that time, maybe they could book the fight. Before that, maybe they could book the fight in like April or like May. When O'Malley is fighting Omar. Yan is fighting Omar, and it would be the biggest fight in the bantamweight. I am telling you right now, like stylistically, that's going to be so amazing because a stylistic matchup, right? Look at the perfect stylistic matchup. You have Umar Nurmagomedov, who was primarily a striker. He was primarily like a kickboxer. That's how he started his MMA journey, from kickboxing. And then he started learning wrestling from Khabib's camp. He was training over there. And then you have Peter Yan, who is also primarily a striker, a Muay Thai guy who trained in Thailand for a long, long time, who's been one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division. You have those guys going against each other who can also wrestle. Umar, with Peter Yan, we saw that in the last fight. He was able to out wrestle Merab at some of the occasions. So you could have that matchup where it's gonna be, there's no possibility for that match to not be a banger. And that would be amazing. That's what I want to see, to be honest. What is the time, guys? By the way, it's 6:52. I have a training session at 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna have to leave in a while. By the way, thanks, guys. By the way, if you guys can subscribe to my channel, I know you can call me Goof, or you can call me whatever you want, but if you guys can subscribe to my channel, that would be great, guys. Thank you very much. And by the way, I'm gonna be streaming. I'm gonna be streaming the whole gym session as well. So I'm gonna start the session in like a while. My friend's gonna pick me up in like a few minutes. So we start the gym session. In the start, we're just going to be doing like a gym workout, and after that, we're going to be doing grappling and stuff. We're going to be doing a bit of jiu-jitsu, a bit of wrestling, and all of this stuff. So if you guys can subscribe, you can actually tune into my stream, the next stream as well. That would be amazing. Thank you very much.